Welcome back to United Pubcast. You're with Larry. I'll be hosting today, and I'm joined by a familiar face on the channel. Josh, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good mate. I was don't know whether to shave my head today, just an appreciation. I've not done it for a couple of months now, definitely not since lockdown. So yeah, maybe I'll spoil it in the next couple of days.
Oh, please. Yeah, make sure you send me photos of that. I'll absolutely be waiting in anticipation with my blankets, in my blanket, I should say. Very excited for your shaved head, Josh. But what is exciting is the imminent, it feels like, signing and announcement of the Dutchman Erik ten Hag, current Ajax manager, expected to be announced after their final this weekend. Josh, initially, before we rip into the three things that Erik ten Hag should fix. Now, my caveat to all of this is there are many things that Erik ten Hag and Manchester United need to fix. But to make sure that everyone does get to live their lives and enjoy their Easter long weekend, we'll keep it to three things. But before we get into all of that, thank you to all those in the comments. I'll make sure I come to you shortly. If you are new here, make sure you're subscribed and do hit a like on that video. But Josh, let me get your initial reactions to the news around Erik ten Hag joining Manchester United. What are your initial thoughts? Do you feel excited? Talk to me.
I am excited. Look, no, it's not. It is common knowledge, but there was probably two candidates for the role: Ten Hag and Pochettino, and I'd say Ten Hag's definitely my preferred option anyway. Um, Look, there's no discredit to Pochettino. He's done well in the Premier League with a very, I'd say at first average Tottenham side, which he built into a very good Tottenham side, ultimately not winning anything. Um, Probably will go on to win a trophy with PSG this season, albeit not the Champions League. But with Ten Hag, he's proven that he can develop players, he can progress players. Some good players that have played for him have gone on to have some very successful careers, not just at Ajax, but outside of Ajax as well. So he's definitely someone that can nurture young talent, which is probably what a lot of United fans at the moment are pinning their hopes on, just due to the state of our current squad. I mean, look, when you did your podcast on Monday night, we pretty much didn't even, or even struggling to have 11 players for next season if we were to sell all the players we said. So very exciting times for United, but it's just probably one where we all need to be a little bit realistic. It's not going to be a quick fix like it was for Thomas Tuchel for Chelsea, and he came in and won the Champions League, and ultimately until yesterday looked like he could potentially do it again. It's going to be a process, and a long process, and we're fed up with probably saying the word patience, but a lot of us need to instill that quality in ourselves because it's going to get worse, unfortunately, for United before it gets better, definitely in the short term. I think there's no denying that.
I agree with you 100%, and we'll definitely talk about that as we go. But I will come to the comments. Dion, as always, evening, mate. Hope you're doing well. Mike, good to see you returned after our bit of trash talk. But evening, mate. Hope you're well. Let's hope Ten Hag can usher in a new era. Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope he can moonwalk like Usher can as well, since you dropped him. What an R&B pop star Usher was. Did you listen to Usher growing up?
Yeah, it was great with my, I think, 13, 14 years of age. It was my era.
Oh, mate, I was jamming to him at 7. Mate, it's going to be havoc on here. I'm hosting, so you can bet we're not going to stick to football. But, we'll see where we go.
Turn into a WWE podcast in probably about 5 minutes.
Oh, mate, I'm ready to talk to you about Roman Reigns as Manchester United's biggest signing of the transfer window. Dion, unfortunately, I see that a large swath of our fan base already have absurd expectations. This guy's a discipline-reliant system coach, not a savior. Absolutely, Dion, and we're going to get into all of that. If you're pinning all your hopes on Erik ten Hag, you're absolutely mad. George, g'day, mate. Hope you're well. Good news with the appointment. Let's trot. Absolutely, Josh Adokar will be absolutely bouncing to the announcement of Erik ten Hag's imminent incoming to Manchester United. And we got Adam. Where's the fake Erik ten Hag? I'm now calling him Erik Tom Hag. That's his official name. Tom's had a late substitution out, but I'm sure he'll be back with us soon, mate. But look, Josh is a very capable replacement, so be nice. Be nice, Adam. Josh can hold his own, absolutely. Jamie, morning, mate. Hope it's all nice and dandy in Ireland this morning. Josh, let's not waste any more time. I want to talk to you about the three things that Erik ten Hag needs to get right. And I'm going to start right now with number 1. Find a captain. We've seen this season that Harry Maguire has come under the microscope for his performances and lack of leadership. He's really struggled personally in terms of his own performance, arguably his biggest dip in form in his, and he's really the question marks well leadership and take respect of the dressing room. Sit on this. If you're Erik ten Hag, who's your captain and why?
This is a tough one, Larry, because I think my opinion changes probably every week with this. Look, I think the one thing we both can agree on that it's not going to be Harry Maguire. I don't think he's done enough, obviously, to deserve that. There's no denying that his performances haven't been captain material. The way I think he sort of speaks and carries himself isn't really, captain material. And I hate to say that last point because I don't think it's as relevant. But I think if you look at any leader, you can be from a business perspective. You look for someone that holds their own, doesn't fumble their speech, is inspirational to an extent. Well, not to an extent, to a large extent. I was always against Bruno being captain. Tom and myself, we've always shared the same opinion. How can we have someone yelling at me to not give the ball away with someone that continuously gives the ball away as your captain? But I don't really see anyone else at the moment. Ronaldo's not a long-term option. He's got 1 year left in him, and that's optimistic if he does stay with us next season, which is probably looking very likely that he will. Other than that, I'd say the only candidate is David De Gea, and personally, and this has always been when I played football as well at school and at university, we just never would see no matter how vocal they were, you'd never have your goalkeeper as a captain. I know Spurs do it with Hugo Lloris from time to time, but you want someone that's, front and centre in the middle of the pitch, whether that be, to an extent a defender, but usually someone in midfield that's seeing the game. And the more time progresses, the more I'm leaning towards Bruno. I don't see any other option. De Gea, again, is great. He's been great servant to the club. He's definitely one that sort of carries a lot of the accountability at the moment when Maguire doesn't speak to the press. But again, he's not really a long-term option for United, and I think he's not got too many years left in the long-term for United anyway, for De Gea.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's a really difficult one in all the points you make. You said to start that you think it's obvious Harry Maguire wasn't. Do you really think that there's a serious case that the Englishman will be stripped of his captaincy?
I think with a new manager, definitely, he's going to have new ideas about how he wants his club to be led. I know with the past managers we've had, they've sort of adapted and kept with what's currently worked for the club overall. And I think with Ralph, it wasn't really a decision he needed to make in the short term. I know everyone's saying he shouldn't be captain, but I don't think that was the priority. The priority was getting us through games no matter what. Obviously, that's not worked at the moment, but it's definitely going to be something which Erik ten Hag needs to get right from the get-go. Obviously, outlining his playing style is going to be fundamental, but also how he wants that playing style to be implemented, and that comes from your captain on the pitch. I don't see that being Harry Maguire. Personally, I don't think Harry Maguire will be a second-string player. I don't think he's going to be one that's going to be starting on the bench every week. I still think he keeps his position in the squad. I just think the burden of the captaincy is showing, and I know he cops a lot of abuse, and I think some of it's deserved at times, but the majority of it I think is really undeserved. You can make a YouTube compilation of Ronaldo's poor moments in games recently, and they'd be comical. But because it's Harry Maguire, it's very easy to make him the scapegoat. And that's not me trying to hide away from his poor performances. It's just the way humour and social media is at the moment, and it looks a lot worse than in hindsight what it probably actually is.
Yeah. To be honest, I thought he shouldn't have the captaincy when Ollie gave it to him anyway. But it just showed the lack of. But was it against Sheffield United when he was blaming? He basically skipped any blame on himself, despite being at fault for the goal, and then he proceeded to make comments like, "We failed to score goals." I thought a captain to be quite deflective, given that he was responsible. Will play a major part in the end result. It was pretty poor taste, and I just since then I've just had a sour taste in my mouth. Harry, it will be interesting to see, and it will be Bruno Fernandes. I think he's the obvious choice. Just best out of a bunch. Like I saw with Harry Maguire, I can't see a new player coming in to give. So you have to think that it will be Bruno.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I don't know if I was imagining that from Jamie's comment there, Larry. I think you're cutting out a little bit. I don't know if your signal's a bit bad.
All right, I'll get a backup plan, but just 2-3. But and hug. And when we talk about setting the standard, we've seen that United have performed so poorly this season. Obviously, we've seen the performances have been quite poor. But I will tell you that United have dipped off. Does he reboot? Do you think he needs? Is it as simple as getting rid of a whole bunch of players, or what do you think he needs to do to set the standard?
I think you see a lot of managers come into clubs and they revert in the first game, no matter if it's midway through the season or at the start of the season, it takes them a while to implement the standards. But one thing that's always worked for managers when they've come into clubs is they stick to the experienced players. I'll expect to see a very mature United squad play that first game, whether that be in pre-season or whether that be in the first game of the Premier League season. Wouldn't be surprised if Phil Jones starts, in all honesty. Someone that knows the club, that's played for the club for a long time, if he's still there. But if you're being realistic, you'd be talking, someone like Nemanja Matic, starting in midfield, players with experience, De Gea starting in net. Wouldn't be surprised if one of them was captain, whether that be Matic or De Gea. You sort of stick with the players that have the values, and then over time, when he gets his transfers into the club, they'll set the standards. And his first signing is going to be probably the most important signing. How he wants to be perceived, how he is from the get-go. A lot of links with players, potentially free in the summer. That player, is it from Benfica? Is it Nunes? Is one of them? If he pulls it off as his first signing, that could be an unreal signing. Additionally, as well, if he decides to splash out all our debt on Declan Rice, that'd be a bit of a statement in itself as well. Personally, I think I wouldn't be surprised if his first signing is someone that we're probably not expecting. Maybe someone that he's used to seeing in the Dutch league. Maybe even an Ajax player he brings with him.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think he needs to bring in a player from Ajax. To get one, that's going to be really crucial. We've seen Andy linked. I think that's more of a lot of fans being in next season. A player he's worked with before. So you think that given it's someone he trusts, like, yes, Donny needs to prove himself next season. But I think that's why you'll see the Dutchman return into the fold. Absolutely agree with you there. And what I want to see him do, when we see poor performances, drop players. We've seen far too often this season when players aren't performing well, they're being given the benefit of the doubt. They're remaining in the side. Like, I want him to be I want the Dutchman to be like, if there's a player who's performing poorly, we're just simply going to put a kid in there. Because I just don't want to see the likes of Harry Maguire or Fred or McTominay or whoever it might be. If you're performing poorly, you get dropped. And that's how it should be. But finally, Josh, we come to the third thing that Erik ten Hag needs to fix. Playing style. That's what Manchester United absolutely need to do. We don't have an identity, and we haven't had one since Sir Alex Ferguson left. Erik ten Hag plays a high press style, keeps the ball. Whatever that might be, I think he just simply needs to find a playing style and stick to it. And we just need to have an identity, whether that's counter-attacking football, whatever it is. At this point, I'm happy to accept it as long as we see a positive return. And I think he simply we need to see a consistency and identity as Manchester United fans. It's what the Old Trafford faithful demand, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And look, I wouldn't be against, I know the football was horrific, but I wouldn't be against an identity that was very similar to Louis van Gaal's first season at United, where we kept possession, and against the bigger teams, which we were definitely inferior against, we sort of seemed to hold our own and play really good, positive counter-attacking football. I think United put a post up. I think might have been 6 years to the day where we beat Man City 4-2 at Old Trafford. I think Fellaini, Ashley Young, Chris Smalling all scored. I think Juan Mata as well actually might have got the third or fourth. But that came amongst a stream of games. I think we played Spurs at home and won 3-0. We played Liverpool away and obviously had that famous victory with the Juan Mata double. And until we played Chelsea away, where they won the league ultimately against us, it was very, very good, positive football against the big teams. And I think that's what United are missing this year. You play against the big teams and there's no identity. The Man City game away at the Etihad, we just tried to match them by playing a false nine, what they usually do with Phil Foden. And ultimately, we just look like idiots. Look far inferior, and our quality really did show. And I can't remember the time where United had a positive game against a decent team. I think you can put it down maybe to Arsenal earlier in the season where we won at home, but even still conceded a few goals as well. The thing with United, and I've said this on probably every podcast I've been on this year, and even to an extent last year, United have not had a good all-round team performance for a hell of a long time. And that's concerning. You look at teams around us, West Ham, Spurs, and obviously the teams above us, they probably put in a good, decent team performance once or twice a month, if that. The ones that are competing to get into the Europa League. I can't remember the last time United can hold their heads up high for 90 minutes. You know what, lads? Fair play. Everyone's done their job here. Everyone's done their job. Ultimately, in the Champions League, maybe a little bit different. I mean, we could potentially have beaten the winners with Villarreal over 2 legs. So it's a different story. I just think United need to get a style where the fans believe in what they're doing and the fans believe that they're ultimately putting the effort in, because ultimately at the moment you go to Old Trafford, and I said it on the last podcast, on the comments of the last podcast, we played Everton. I said we're going to make a relegation team look world class, and although they didn't look world class, they looked class against us, class and controlled. And you hear the same thing against Norwich, especially with a predicted demonstration happening before the game as well. The fans are going to be very, very agitated, and they need to eradicate that going into next season and sort of get that style in place.
Yeah, 100%. And you hit the nail on the head around. We need to, as fans, have a right to be excited. Like you said, like this season, we just haven't put it together. The most exciting game I can think about was Newcastle at home, which was Ronaldo's returning game. And I think all of that was around his actual return. The actual performance was poor. United ran out 4-1 winners. But if you recall, Newcastle were dead set for relegation before they spent 200 million in January. And we even struggled in that game. So I think if for the playing style to evolve, there absolutely needs to be the right signings to complement that playing style. But it's just been somber viewing this season. And I think, like, you look at Everton, we didn't create a single chance. Like, it was just boring. The fans need something to get them excited. And but I'm hopeful Erik ten Hag can do it. Just to wrap up, I guess let me just get your opinion on Ten Hag. You mentioned at the start of the video that we need to have patience with him, and I completely agree with that. But we know our fan base won't exactly allow for that. So when you say have patience, what do you think that should entail? Is it 1 season? Is it 3 seasons? Is it 5 seasons? Or when you talk about patience, like, what's acceptable next season? Is it a top 4 finish? If we finish 6th, does Erik ten Hag keep his job? In terms of patience, what do you think is acceptable next season?
Well, ultimately, if he's going to have oversight on the transfers, which you think that's part of the big clause in his contract that he wants, I think a lot of accountability goes into there. But I still think you need to give him a 3-year plan. A lot of people don't agree with this, but with Van Gaal, the football was atrocious, but you could see what he was trying to build, to an extent. He had some signings in place. He looked to be playing a little bit more safe football. And yeah, we finished lower than what we did in this first season. But sometimes that happens. We bank on ourselves to get better. And I don't think United got worse in that season. I think ultimately other teams got better. You got to remember the first season Leicester City won the league. Of course, teams are going to get better. It's an anomaly, Leicester winning the league. So you've got to take that into consideration with him and give him the time he needs to sort of get the squad he wants. Look, I said this at the start of the podcast. I can't see us finishing any higher than probably what we're going to finish this season, even with players in place. It'd be a great achievement. Ultimately, for me, I'd be delighted to be in the Champions League again. Not next season, obviously, but the season after, which is probably what the likely option is going to be. And then from there, build on. You consistently probably want to be improving season after season. But ultimately, when you exceed expectations one year, as I said before, other teams will improve in the process, and you've got to take that into consideration. 3 years at a minimum for me.
Yeah, 100%. I never really gave it much thought. I think we have to accept for next season, if we don't finish in the top 4, as long as it's not embarrassing, I think we have to allow for that. As long as the football's positive and you see that the players are absolutely giving it their all, which I can't confidently say about this season, I think I'll give him a pass mark. And it really comes down to as well, how many players does he get out the door, but crucially, how many players does he get in? Because if we let 11 players go, which, let's be honest, it's very realistic given just simply who's off contract, let alone the deadwood, I don't think he's going to bring first-team caliber replacements for each player that leaves. It's going to be a blend of signings, but you're going to see some young kids potentially given a go, which he is renowned for at Ajax. So it's a big job. It's a big job. But like you said, I think we absolutely need to prepare to have patience here. And as long as the playing style is progressive, I think I'm happy to give him a pass mark.
Yeah, and look, I sort of agree with Tom's comment that you've got on the board here. I think, I think it needs to be a 4 to 5 year project. I don't think it will be though. I think football's evolved since then. It's a more ruthless game than it was a couple of years ago. Social media and fan say has a part in that, and the way United's club is run, I don't see that dramatically changing. I know Ten Hag wants control of a lot of things, but ultimately our board is our board, and ultimately they're crap. So, what do they do when things are crap? They appease the fans.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't disagree with you. Well, I think we'll leave it there. Cheers to everyone who did tune in. I'm sorry for my internet. What can I do? I try to connect on my phone. Even my phone internet's dropping out. So there seems to be some sort of outage, but I think it's stabilized. So thanks for being patient with us. Really do appreciate it. Josh, pleasure. Thank you for being a late night substitution for me as well.
No, good, mate. Just hopefully, look, we'll get an actual Sunday where you and Tom don't review a podcast, but we lose and we might actually get a win against the bottom team in the league, which would be an achievement for United. So
it really would. Have we won a single game against anyone in a relegation spot this season? I can't think about it. I mean, I know we beat Newcastle. We drew to Newcastle. We failed to beat Watford twice. Norwich. We did beat Norwich first time round, didn't we? Or was that a draw?
Yeah, last minute penalty from Ronaldo. So we struggle against them.
Oh gosh, it's on my birthday too. What a punishment it could potentially be for me. Thanks, mate. Well, hopefully it is a happy birthday. But look, cheers for tuning in. We'll obviously be giving you a preview over the next day or so. So make sure you do stay tuned for that. Like I said at the start of the video, make sure you do give us a like. It does help us a lot. And if you are new, subscribe because there's always something for everyone in the pub. Josh, I don't know if you've known, but change is coming on the United podcast.
I was just about to ask you that. When is this change happening?
Just one of those things. Look, it'll probably be next week. But I'm just running with change is coming. I'm being cryptic. I've had 2 people ask me today, what's this change? And I'm like, let's wait and see. So stay tuned for that. Josh, cheers, mate. Cheers to all those in the comments as well. And we'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.